Good afternoon and welcome. I'm Reverend Jeanne, one of the staff ministers at Vision, and it is my delight to lead us today in today's Uplift with Vision. So let's, as we always do, begin in prayer. Just being in this moment, this perfect peace, this perfect power that is Spirit right here, right now. Knowing that there is only God, only Spirit, leading us, guiding us, protecting us, absolutely supporting and supplying all of our needs. This is the movement of all life. This is the movement of Spirit. This is my life now. And it is our life now. And I know that in this, there is only good. There is only peace. There is only God. And so I allow it to be. And so it is. So the phrase that came to me this morning in meditation was, let peace abide. Peace abide. And I'm thinking in, these times of uncertainty and fear and all, we could all use a little bit more peace. And what came on the heels of that comment or that idea was also an affirmation. And the affirmation was, today I consciously choose peace and love. I love that affirmation. And it brings to mind the focus of how to consciously choose and how important that is. Choice is a pretty tricky thing. And I'm a pretty decisive person, I think. I mean, given two things, I can choose pretty easily. This scarf or that scarf, red car, blue car, soup or salad, I can choose. What's harder to choose, though, is when it's between two unknowns. Should I take this job or should I make do with what I have? Should I move? Should I stay? Those times when it's uncertain and you don't know which ones to do and what they will look like. But hardest of all is the choice that happens when we're caught up in an emotion. And at that time, we forget we even have a choice. When I'm in full reaction of furious at something or someone or filled with fear, I forget there even is peace to choose. Right? I just climb aboard that, what do I call it, the emotion express train, and there's just no stops in sight. The truth is the majority of choices that we make are not visible, are not easy to see because they aren't even conscious. They're automatic negative reactions that we never really question, even though they no longer serve us. It's automatic. It's that automatically thinking the worst possible thing, right? No matter what's happening. And then moving straight into worry, into fear. So our work really is to break those negative reactions, disable those negative reflexes that we have. But how do we do that? It's not from our head, not from logic or intellect. That's not going to do it. What breaks the pattern really is turning away from the event, from the outside world, and stepping back from the ego and personality and instead going within to that inner world where that true peace does abide. Ernest Holmes describes that inner world this way. as my thought sinks deep into the quiet hood of my innermost self, I'm conscious of the perfect peace and love and strength of the one universal being, the one divine mind. It's like a tranquil pool, translucent, calm, and beautiful. And as I contemplate it, I am refreshed. I'm refreshed just reading those words. It's just such lovely images. But so how do we find that tranquil pool of peace when we're in those reactions, like fear or anger or impatience or confusion, overwhelm? How do we train ourselves to access that sacred, peaceful place in the midst of the unknowing, in the midst of the fear, in the midst of the COVID restrictions that we face every day? Well, I came across a wonderful practice that I'd like to share today, and it helps to bring that inner peace back into our experience. It comes from the Buddhist tradition of mindfulness, and it was created and taught by an American psychologist, Dr. Tara Brach. It's a 4-step process, and it has the acronym RAIN, R-A-I-N. Dr. Brach describes this process as a mindfulness tool that offers in-the-trenches support. And that's what we need, aren't we? Because we're in the trenches. She says it works by directing our attention in a systematic way to cut through confusion and stress. And she says it deconditions the habitual ways that we resist our moment-to-moment experience. And as it does, it then undoes the unconscious patterns that cut us off from our hearts. So it's a really, really great process. So here's how it works, all right? It starts by imagine yourself in what we call those painful moments, right? Maybe when you're about to lash out in anger or frustration, or beginning to get into that obsessive worrying mode, or any of those negative reflexes we mentioned. That's when you turn to RAIN. Okay? So the first step, we start with the R, and that stands for recognize what is happening. That means focusing your attention on whatever thoughts or emotions or feelings or sensations that are rising in this present moment. So as those emotions come up, focus on them. What is your body feeling? What thoughts are racing through your mind? And just being fully present with yourself through that, moment to moment, right? And taking that moment, explore all that's happening within you. Physically, mentally, emotionally, right? For example, if you recognize that the worried thoughts and anxiety are coming up, delve deeper into what your body is feeling. Are there sensations of pressure or tightness or a jittery nervousness? What is your body feeling? And then just be curious. Be curious. So ask yourself, what's happening inside me right now? I'm feeling this emotion, what's happening inside me right now? And try to let go of any preconceived ideas about it. Just listen in a kind and receptive way to your body and your heart, what they're saying, because that inner wisdom we know is there and to speak with you. So the next step is A in RAIN, and that stands for allow life to be just as it is. Allow life to be just as it is. So this is that just being with your thoughts and emotions and feelings or sensations that come up. Not pushing them away, no matter how unpleasant they are. Just sitting with them. Just be willing to be present with the what is. Just by that, exercise, a shift begins to happen. You begin to have space for healing to occur. And, that is the goal, right? Dr. Brock even suggests mentally whispering or encouraging a word or phrase to support the movement. For example, if you feel gripped by fear, whisper to yourself, yes, or this too. Right? It's that accepting. It's that allowing. It softens your feelings that we usually run from. And as your defenses relax, a physical sense of yielding happens. And you become open to the waves of the experience. So often just those two steps are enough to move us from that sudden impulse and drastic emotional reaction into a more peaceful place, into a more resolved place. Just recognizing what's happening and allowing it to be just as it is. But there are times when our feelings are triggered over and over again, right? An ongoing struggle, entrenched emotions. An example of this is, say, the pandemic maybe has put your job in jeopardy or put it on hold temporarily, and every time a bill comes, you just tighten up, you cringe, you have that panic feeling, or your bank statement arrives, that panic arises, right? Or possibly you're dealing with a physical injury, and every time a pain comes up, you react in a deeper sense. So that's when you move into the third step, the I in RAIN. The I stands for investigate with kindness. Investigate with kindness. So this stage has two parts. First, investigate. And that's more than just the pausing that we talked about and recognizing what's happening inside of us. It's actually actively engaging in a more pointed kind of questioning. So you might ask, what wants my attention? How am I experiencing this in my body? And what does this feeling want from me? It's a deeper inquiry. And it requires staying with the uncomfortable feelings and sensations longer. And by doing that, what you're doing is learning what they're trying to say. The second part of that is to just be kind and gentle with yourself. When we sit in our discomfort and that inner judge comes up, which it always does, and we hear ourselves saying, I shouldn't be feeling this way, or I'm really angry at myself for feeling this way. That's a natural defensive strategy. It's how we resist feeling that unsafe and uncomfortable parts of ourselves. But we need to offer a gentle welcome to whatever arises. So that's part 3. Dr. Brock compares this to comforting a child. She says, imagine that your child comes home in tears after being bullied at school, and in order to find out what's happening and how your child is feeling, you have to offer a kind, receptive, gentle attention. Bringing that same kindness to your inner life makes inquiry and ultimately healing possible. And the final stage, the N in RAIN, is basically the result of the process. N stands for natural awareness or natural presence. There's nothing to do in this last part. It really just simply arises spontaneously on its own. And that's how we know that we've succeeded, that it's working, right? because we've stopped identifying with the limited stories and beliefs. So this is the reward, the culmination of the last 3 steps. And it creates a new appreciation for our feelings as you disengage from the limitation. And we automatically feel more freedom and openness to life, more aligned with that deep peace that abides within, resting in that natural awareness. You might also call this a non-identification stage, because we're recognizing who we really are and that it's not fused with our emotion express train, because we're so much more than that small self. We're an integral part of the divine, and there's absolutely nothing that can disconnect us from spirit. Ernest Holmes reminds us, no matter what our emotional storm or what our objective situation may be, there is always something hidden in our inner being that has never been violated. We may stumble, but always there is that eternal voice forever whispering within our ear, that thing that causes the eternal quest, that thing which forever sings and sings. So breathe that in, resting in that truth, the truth of that eternal voice, that eternal peace. So, cool process, huh? Simple as rain. So, recognize what's happening. Allow life to be just as it is. Investigate with kindness. Rest in natural awareness. And the purpose is really to make this practice such a natural part of your life that it becomes automatic. So when emotions begin to take over and that sense of inner peace begins to dissolve, you'll remember to let in the rain. Right? It's a great recipe for opening our hearts to ourselves and to others. And that's ultimately what we're here for, isn't it? That's it. Sharing our hearts. So I invite you to add rain to your toolbox and pull it out the next time that those emotional storm clouds come in. Let peace abide as you consciously choose peace and love. So let's just ground this in prayer. Just so grateful for this time, this chance to deepen into that peace, that love, that divine, the divine self that is our self, always moving into a greater expression of itself. And so it is with great gratitude I release these words, knowing that all is well, for all is God, and so it is. So meanwhile, don't forget to tune in for Uplift tomorrow. And thank you again for joining me today. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste.